Hello. I see you have come to join me for yet another Saturday night special. This time, I'm trying out something different. And I know that in all my cooking videos, I say that every time, but I actually mean it this time. Here in front of me, I have the ingredients to make my own type of alcohol, per se. I have a kind of at-home do-it-yourself brewing kit that I got off of eBay for about $38, so not bad as a starting kit here. With this, I'm gonna attempt to make my own type of apple wine, which I know that sounds kind of weird because normally wine is made with grapes, but we don't have to follow the rules. Anyway, as far as apple juice goes, you can either press it yourself or just buy it in bottles already. This is the unfiltered organic Martinelli's. Martinelli's is my favorite brand of apple juice, so I'm sure going to give them the double thumbs up here. And with this one, you have a few additions. Basically, we have our two choices here for the wine yeast. We either have red wine or white wine, which this one's a little higher percentage. I was going more towards kind of a champagne style, so I'm gonna try out the white wine first. The first thing we actually have to do is mix in all of our other ingredients. So let me go ahead and get out our one pan. The most important thing to remember here is that you have to keep everything clean and sterile, otherwise it'll contaminate your brew, which is why you can see all my stuff I just washed in the dishwasher. That way I didn't touch it or anything. Made sure my hands were clean and everything. So we are ready to go. So for this, we're going to start with a little bit of the juice on the bottom. We can shake this up to get all that stuff off. I'm only putting a tiny bit in, that way it doesn't splash when I pour the sugar in. Make sure I don't forget any of that. And I'm gonna add in enough so that I can get all of the brown sugar to dissolve. At the same time, I'm also mixing in basically our seasoning mix. There's too many things to call out here, so I'm just gonna put them in that little table so you can see what exactly goes into this. So we'll add these in too. And now, we just mix everything until it's completely dissolved. I'm not going to use the heat because then I'll have to wait for it to cool off before I can throw in the, whatever it's called, the yeast. But I'll try to kind of stir it now, and then if it doesn't want to cooperate, I can turn the heat on a little bit to warm it up. That way that'll help. And this has yeast nutrient in it now. Do you know what yeast nutrient is? Pee. So you definitely don't want to drink that now, unless you're into that. Now that this is all dissolved, we need to measure out the rest of the volume because we only have a gallon to work with and we want to minimize the surface area on the top of the bottle. So let me get out those things. This part's easy. We just need to fill it up to about the neck, leaving maybe an inch or so at the top. That way it doesn't bubble up into the little air seal that we'll be making later on. So now I will just, oh, by the way, the store didn't have any funnels for food, so I had to just buy a motor oil funnel from the auto aisle. And I guess this will work okay. It doesn't say I can't use it for food, but I definitely wasn't using one of the ones from my garage that had actual oil and transmission fluid and stuff. So here's one of our 1.5 liter containers. The whole point of this is simply so that I have enough for this one, because this is our secondary fermentation vessel, as they call it. Let's see how good I am at eyeballing this. Luckily, there's no residue left over in here, so we should be good for our total amount of things in here. Ew. That looks kind of gross. And then we just add the rest. Oh, before I forget, I need to shake these two to get all that sediment off the bottom. And actually, that reminds me, I'm going to pour some more into here. That way it gets the rest of the leftover mixture out too, so I don't waste any. So I'll kind of slosh that around a little. And we try that again. That should be good on that. Now I just fill it up. See, I'm glad I bought 3 of these, because that's definitely not enough with only 2. All right, last one. I'm gonna have to let that sit for a bit so the froth can die down. So I'll be back in a second. Well, while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and get the yeast ready, because there's a specific way we have to prepare that. I'm using distilled water here because I know it's clean and it won't add anything weird to this mixture. So we're going to put 1/4 cup of that into here. I'm just gonna guess, because this cup doesn't measure in fourths. And as far as these packets go, they season up to 5 gallons, so we only need a little bit of this packet for our single gallon. We will put this in the water and then let it soak for about 20 minutes to rehydrate them, because since these are alive, you can actually shock them by putting them right into a high sugar concentration juice. So the water just kind of wakes them up, and then we can throw them in. If I can even get this open. Only one slight problem. This yeast specifically, the best buy date was January of 2019, so I don't know if it's even going to wake up. According to the instructions, it starts to bubble slightly when they do wake up, so I'll see if that happens or not. Otherwise, I can use the red wine yeast here as a backup. But I guess we'll just wait about 20 minutes and we will see what happens. Yeah, it smells kind of weird. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get. So I tested the yeast and it did froth lightly, so I'm assuming that means it's good according to the online instructions. If it froths, that means it's still alive. So I'm gonna go by that. We'll see if that works or not. And with that, we are now ready for primary. Luckily, they gave us this nice fancy pail This one doesn't have any measuring marks on it. That's why I needed to measure it in this one first so that I know exactly how much I need. So, I think I'll kind of slosh this around a little and then pour this in. I'll be gentle since they're live. Then from here, I will just dump this right in. It should mix nicely. And there we go. Oops, it's kind of splashing. Gotta do it more gently. All hail. So, what do we do now? Well, we put the top on it, obviously. And I'm being careful here not to touch anything on the inside here so that that can stay nice and clean. So there is one last thing we have to do before closing it up, and that's checking the specific gravity. I don't know if this is tall enough for this measuring pipe, but we will see, I guess. Well, I guess not, but that's not a big deal. Next time I guess I'll have to invest in one of those skinny tall tubes so I can pour some in so I can measure beforehand. But besides that, it's now time to wait. I will get to close it. Next up we have this, which is our water lock. And I'll be using more of the distilled water for that because we need clean water to get that going. So once we get that out, we'll just put that in there. Because you want this to breathe, but you also don't want any outside air getting in. So I'll attempt to pull this apart. There's a fill line on here, you can kind of see it. I'll just kind of top it off with water. And now we are set. And this will sit for about 7 to 10 days. And then we'll move it into the secondary, which is our jug here. So with this set up, now we just need to put it somewhere not in sunlight so that it can stay nice and constant temperature. And then we just kind of sit around for a few days. So with that being said, I will update you in about a week or so once this is on to the second stage. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see how this goes since it's my first time. All hail.